Hello, I'm Walker Simsek.
And I'm Mark Whittingham.
We are high school students who look to further our education in broadcast journalism.
A lot of people would consider us similar because we're passionate about the same things. But one thing really sets us apart, and it occurs in courtrooms like these.
We are here to discuss the 13th Amendment and why it is important to us. Not because of what the majority of the public think it did, but what it failed to do.
In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free. That's what President Lincoln once wrote. We shall nobly save or meanly lose the last best hope of earth.
The 13th Amendment, Section 1, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction.
Well, the 13th Amendment is important because, one, it abolished slavery except a person is convicted of a crime. Me being a criminal defense attorney, that's highly important to my clients. They'll try to avoid going into an incarceratory sentence or being locked up for an extended period of time.
Federal prison population since 1980 has been going up and up and up, 800%. And so after years of going in the wrong direction, we finally say time out, enough, and then we start moving in the right direction by lowering the prison population.
There is a lot of talk now that you can make the prison system as it is now analogous to slavery as it was prior to the execution of the 13th Amendment. And there's a lot of documentaries out on that as well as books.
When we talk about the 13th Amendment, it's important to think about this in the context of theory versus practice, right? So in practice, the stigmas associated with blackness in the United States make the imposition of law very different, right? So when we start talking about incarceration, the law on the books is one thing, but the practice is completely different at some level. And this becomes the crux of debates that we have.
Is mass incarceration an issue? Yes, it is. But you have to go back and look beneath the surfaces to see what are the causes of mass incarceration. And one of the things you can't overlook is that people have committed crimes. The question is, do they deserve to be in prison for an extended period of time for so-called minor drug offenses? Prison is supposed to be a form of two things, punishment and rehabilitation. One of the biggest problems that face the prison system, and one of the things that I have a big concern about, is private prisons. When you start privatizing and making a profit off of incarceration, I think that's wrong.
Our prison system is an industry of its own, mostly occupied by people of color and run by white people. When you make money off of locking up people and taking away their freedoms, that's a total injustice in itself. The school to prison pipeline is very real and active in communities of color. When kids at the age of 15 have a criminal record, their whole life is ruined.
We have some societal issues that we need to address. Employment. What do you expect for people who have a felony record who can't go out and get a job? What do you expect for them to do if they can't get a job? They're going to go out and prey on other folks.
While slavery is abolished and has been abolished since 1865, according to the 13th Amendment, people can still be sentenced to extended prison sentence, which a lot have deemed analogous to slavery.
Do I think mass incarceration is a new form of slavery? Personally, no. I don't buy totally into this philosophy of this is a new form of slavery.
Now, as far as the 13th Amendment, where we gotten back, where we come from, and where we're at to now, I think it's still a struggle, still a work in progress, even after the execution of the 13th Amendment. There's no secret that the U.S. And we leave the world in persons that's incarcerated, and it's at an alarmingly high rate. And so the question we ask now is, well, while we outlawed slavery, did we just move it to another area where people are being exploited? Prior to the execution of the 13th Amendment, slavery was still legal. And so that's very, very important to, my ancestors, because they were chattel slavery, they were enslaved and held in bondage for 400 some odd years.
Well, the 13th Amendment means a great deal to me because it abolished slavery. If it had not abolished slavery, I would have probably been somebody's slave today. So thank God for the 13th Amendment.
The 13th Amendment is a very important part of our history and of the Black experience. But until the condition, except as a form of punishment, is ratified, the 13th Amendment will continue to be on the wrong side of history.
But what we've seen in the last 20 years is just an enormous rise and boom in the U.S. prison population. And that has to be alarming, because that means that there's a lot of mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers that are going to prison, and not necessarily for things that's a violent crime. And that's not what the intent of when we abolished slavery almost 200 years ago, to where we're going for now, moving on the next 200 years.
We would do a disservice to those warriors of justice, Tubman and Douglas, and Lincoln and King, were we to deny that the scars of our nation's original sin are still with us today. We condemn ourselves to shackles once more if we fail to answer those who wonder if they're truly equals in their communities, or in their justice systems, or in a job interview.